Assalamualaikum and hi, we are from Group 3 and we will like to present about strategic management of the public sector by Ministry of Housing and Local Government. The program that we chose is the 1Malaysia Housing Program and the societal issue indicated to the program is poverty. Hence, before we start, let us introduce ourselves first. My name is Noor Zulaikha, Binti Samsuddin.
Hi, my name is Noor Alya Shazreen, Binti Shahrizal.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Husnina Binti Sayuti.
My name is Khamarul Aqmal bin Anuar.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Izzul Hakim bin Zulkiflee.
Firstly, poverty can be defined as a condition of the person that cannot meet the minimum standard of living or basic needs including housing. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia and the Economic Planning Unit, in 2019, the poverty rate in Malaysia's economy increased from 5.6% to 8.4%, putting a damper on the country's major growth. Besides, David Gordon stated that if there are two absence of 8 fundamental needs, including housing, the person will be categorized in the absolute poverty category. For example, in Malaysia, there is a group of people that live in utter poverty where they cannot afford to buy their own house. Hence, poverty is one of the crucial societal issues in Malaysia as the number of housing poverty keep increasing. There is a significant relationship between housing and poverty as the conceptual context of poverty derived to the homeless, the people who cannot afford their own shelter according to their household income. Next, according to the Star newspapers, on 27 October 2021, the housing issue is one of the government's continuous problems, regardless of the inequality of supply-demand and household income level in Malaysia nowadays that still cannot afford to buy a house. Therefore, one of government's initiatives to overcome the issue is by the 1Malaysia Housing Program or Perumahan Rakyat 1 Malaysia. Next, the 1Malaysia Housing Program is one of the initiatives by the Ministry of Housing to overcome the societal issue of housing poverty and providing affordable housing to the public. The main housing price is according to the Malaysian middle and lower income group, which constructs and helps to enhance their quality of life. The Prima Housing Program is the collaboration between governments and private developers such as Sandabi Development and Putrajaya Holdings. The main objective of the program is to plan, construct, provide and preserve the highest quality of affordable housing to the communities as it meets the standard of living. There are 3 missions of Prima program which indicates to customer, product and services and public image. Firstly, the mission relates to customers since the Prima provides affordable houses for the middle and lower income group, and the main aim of the program is to help Malaysian citizens, especially B40 and M40 groups, to have their own houses. Next, the mission indicates to product and services as the organizations emphasize on the target audience, availability and capabilities. They will build a house with a different range of units and size to meet the community standard and needs. Lastly, the mission relates to public image as it aligns to its objective and the Prima standard planning, development contribute to the positive public image towards the program and organization. Next, the vision of Prima is to ensure the holistic development of Malaysians' access to the highest quality of life by providing affordable and safe homes. Hence, that's it from me and I will pass the floor to the next presenter.
Thank you so much. So, as the figure shows, the organization chart of Prima is separated to the top and bottom level management. Firstly, the highest level of Prima consists of the members of corporation such as the chairman yang bagi Datuk Dr. Fatul Bari bin Mat Cahaya and the chief executive officer CEO yang bagi Datuk Haji Muhammad Nazri bin Mat Sharif. Next, in the first level also include the corporate secretarial department, which the main function is to assist, serve and manage the members of the corporation and also the CEO in the Prima. The figure also shows that the Prima consists of an audit and risk management committee and nomination, which to control and manage the overall process and the compliance, including the audit report of the program. And then, the remuneration committee roles is to observe and appoint the qualified team management to the program. After that, under the CEO, there are 3 divisions of management, which are finance, commercial and corporate service. Under each division, the management of Prima has its own department, which has finance and accounting, reporting and treasury department to manage all the inflow and outflow of the money. Next, under commercial, they have 3 departments, which are development, business development and sales marketing department. Lastly, in the corporate service division, there are 4 major departments, which are corporate strategy, affairs, support and assurance. And the main role is to design strategic plans to boost organization growth. Therefore, the organizational chart is important to its responsibilities to achieve the organizational goals and objectives. Next one is the source of the poverty. Firstly, the minimum wage in Malaysia is one of the sources of poverty. Malaysia's minimum wage was 1,000 ringgit per month until the National Wage Council set a new minimum wage of 1,050 ringgit in September 2018. The government intended to maintain production costs and wages low in order for Malaysians to remain competitive with overseas investors. Malaysia raised its minimum wage to 1,100 ringgit after a numerous protests. With this minimum wage and living costs in Malaysia, most of the people cannot afford to buy an asset or make an investment for their future. This is because they barely can survive their daily life with their salary, and they cannot live comfortably and are forced to control their expenditure. Secondly, not everyone who lacks an education live in abject poverty. However, the vast majority of the severely poor lack access to education. Nowadays, even in our daily lives, education is crucial. Learning to read, write, talk and listen helps a person to improve their communication abilities. These are the basic education that everyone must have. When they are lack of education, they cannot be independent and develop any skills that they might have. Moreover, critical thinking is developed through education. This is critical in teaching a person how to make decisions and connect with others using a logic. This can help them to discover their abilities and interests. It certainly assists them to be more likely to acquire better jobs if they meet basic job qualification. The ministry that is related to the problem that has been mentioned is the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. This is because the authorities are the one who are responsible to help the public and overcome the poverty societal issue in Malaysia. Other than that, the local government has received crucial continuous criticism of the housing planning, which one of the issues of Prima program. The widened gap of household income and poverty issue in Malaysia indicate the total failure of strategic planning and control by the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. It is because the failure of the local government exacerbates the instability of social and economic condition, especially to the lower and middle class of group. Thank you so much. I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, and I will continue about the mandates. Prima program was initiated by former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Razak, mandated on the 10th Malaysian Plan until the current 12th Malaysian Plan. During 10th Malaysian Plan, that is 2011 until 2015, the government was dedicated to delivering high quality, ecologically friendly and long-term residential, as well as optimizing the delivery system and creating a dynamic housing sector. Various housing projects has been created to offer cheap homes for rural and urban areas. The government remained on providing affordable housing to address the expanding housing demands, particularly among the lower and moderate income households throughout the 11th Malaysian Plan period, that is on 2016 until 2020. It is believed that housing development in one country has a major impact on community well-being and socio-economic growth. And during 10th Malaysian Plan, that is 2021 until 2025, the government focused on increasing home ownership by M40 during 2025 to help them having properties at affordable and cheaper prices. There were 10 internal factors evaluation that has been identified for strengths and weaknesses respectively, where they includes physical resources, human resources and organizational resources. For the strength, we would like to focus on 3 major impacts that are offers the lowest price for houses of lower income household, have sufficient budget and implementing rent to own financing. while for weaknesses, lack of expertise, the selection of location wasn't attractive, and also poor budgetary allocation. While for the external factors, evaluation might include social forces, economic forces, competitive forces, geographical forces, and governmental forces, where the opportunity we will have to focus on demand for low-cost housing is high, house of high quality and below market value, joint development agreement JDA with synergy dayang sendirian berhad, while threats are competitors offer the same purpose, natural disasters such as COVID-19 and low developers attraction. For the first strength, the government offers lowest price for homes. The MOH offers 100,000 ringgit Malaysia, while private sectors offered 170 ringgit Malaysia, such as Samdabi, SP Setia and Mahsing Group, while for IJM Land is 245,000 ringgit Malaysia as their lowest price. This gives Prima a competitive advantage since they offer the lowest price that can fulfill and exceed the demands and expectation of their external customers. Next is government has sufficient budget. The budget 2021 of 5.368 billion for MOH being approved in the Parliament on 2020. With this sufficient of budget that has been allocated, they can cover up the high price of materials and maintenance during COVID-19 without delaying the project. And last but not least, the government implementing rent-to-own financing, where in 2020, Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz, in tabling the 2021 budget, stated that the government will be collaborating with selected financial institutions to provide an RTO scheme involving 5,000 Prima homes nationwide with a total value of over 1 billion ringgit Malaysia, especially for the first-time home buyers. It is a lease purchase agreement signed between the buyer and also the developer, giving the buyer the option to buy the house at a specific future date after a certain period of renting. The scheme is open to the potential buyers who were refused for a loan from Prima's panel banks, and it is expected to give a better access to middle 40 income group to purchase Prima houses. Next, I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to present about the weaknesses of Ministry of Housing and Local Government. The weaknesses of Ministry of Housing and Local Government in this issue are lack of expertise and planning in the organisation in terms of information and skills of local authority. Due to this problem, majority of unsold, overhanging and oversupply housing projects in Malaysia increase. It also occurs when the local authority only look at technical aspects and ignore the important part during the planning or design of housing construction. When they fail to have a proper planning, it will result to the market failure and oversupply of housing property. The factors that contribute to the market failure and oversupply of housing property are the ministry fail to achieve a balanced condition between housing demand and supply and unethical behavior by housing developers during the development period. Therefore, the failure of local planning authorities in managing and have the expertise, including approval process by filtering and analyzing new housing construction plans, cause an oversupply of housing, worsening housing market challenge, and more abundant properties in Malaysia exist. Next, the weaknesses of the Ministry of Housing and Local Government are the selection of the project location. Frankly speaking, the location selected for this project is not attractive, where most of the location of Prima development in Malaysia are not coefficient. Furthermore, excluding Kuala Lumpur, the majority of the Prima projects locations are far away from the city, making public transport a challenge for most property purchasers. For example, in Klang Valley, where the projected average housing price is 815,000 ringgit Malaysia, homeowners would have to pay more on transportation, and this will add some burden for them. Not only that, when the location is in a rural area, they will face another problem such as lack of local amenities, infrastructural network, employment opportunities, and educational facilities. We can see that the location of the Prima housing is contrary to the main objective when the development is in urban area because of the price, meanwhile the development in rural is not convenient for the homeowners. Lastly, the Ministry of Housing and Local Government's flaws include poor budgetary allocation, which resulted in financial blunders and debt rising. The ministry has a budget of more than 5 billion ringgit in Malaysia invested into this program. However, due to a conflict between the state and federal governments over acquired property, the ministry would have to purchase additional land from private parties at a higher price. The project cost has been inflated by the high cost of land, and the budget has been over-allocated from the initial estimated budget. In addition, the federal government's difficulties in resolving the state's land acquisition issue, as well as inadequate allocations and bad administration by the Ministry of Housing, have resulted in a severe financial dilemma. As a consequence, the ministry must play a critical role in allocating resources wisely in the planning, construction and design of housing projects in order to overcome this issue.
Thank you. We're moving on to the opportunity for Ministry of Housing in the development of project. First, high demand for low-cost housing. Majority of Malaysian households tend to have low income. In terms of household income distribution by group, the majority of households witness a drop in income, with many households from higher income group moving to lower income group. So for the continuation of life, the people from the group making a decision to apply for ownership of low-cost housing because of inability to purchase a house from the developer's price since the values rise rapidly every year. Next is houses of high quality and below market value. Next, high quality house and under market value. This can be the opportunity because people will choose to stay in such homes with an inexpensive price where their children may grow up and would provide them with a good quality of life. A quality community will result from a quality home. They can also increase the value of the site by building a high quality residences. Furthermore, it is affordable because the price will be below market value. So it is helped to ensure that everyone can buy a house with a good quality. And last but not least, Ministry of Housing has signed a joint development agreement with Synergy Dayang Sendirian Berhad. So this agreement can help to develop more affordable housing in other countries, specifically in Pahang. So this joint development agreement can help to expand the program to the next phase depending on the demand. Synergy Dayang also aims to plan, create and provide middle-income Malaysians with inexpensive and high-quality homes influenced by modern living principles matched with the Ministry of Housing aim in constructing Prima. Lastly, we go to the threats of the Ministry of Housing. So firstly, competitors. The closest competitors that can threaten their market is Syarikat Perumahan Nasional Berhad. Considering that both Ministry of Housing and SPNB share the same aims in providing the best deal of house ownership to the lower income families. SPNB established the program of Rumah Mesra Rakyat for the families with household income under 3,000 ringgit Malaysia, while the Ministry of Housing offers for the middle-income families. So both programs provide the same facilities into their project in which the area has easy access to the city centre, healthcare centre and etc. The challenges can be seen through on the matters where the citizen might choose and compare the rate and quality between two houses to influence their home ownership decision making. And then the second one is natural disasters. Natural disasters are an unforeseen issue that might affect the growth of their sales as people tend to not be able to run any business due to some conditions. For example, the never-ending global pandemic of COVID-19 had troubled the housing market as they had to delay so many things for some period of time as urged by the government. So the business could not operate as usual to consider the safety of public health, and it caused a major effect towards the property agent. So according to the analysis, there is a reduction in the income of 82% of properties agents worldwide during the epidemic. Hence, these unpredictable events are one of those challenging to the housing market, because they could not run the usual activity. Some goes to the other business industry, and these conditions might threaten their business growth. So the last one is low developers attraction. Most developers are not interested in building affordable housing due to the low profit margin, and according to certain circumstances whereby the developers could not sell the property, then they have to follow the demand market. The developers had to bear the high cost of the project, such as costly land price and the increasing rate of construction costs. Many housing developers were not interested in joining the market venture. Therefore, it will be a threat factor to Ministry of Housing in conducting the project. So now I'm going to pass the floor to the next member.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to present about the strategic choice by the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. Strategic choice can be defined as a decision which determines the future strategy of an organization. Therefore, the decision is important by selecting among the strategies considered that will best meet the organization's objectives or goals. According to Michael Porter 5 generic strategies, focus-based value strategy suits well with the objective of PRIMA. Focus-based value can be defined as a strategy that aims at a certain group with a specific product or service that meet their taste with the best price. 1Malaysia Housing Program or PRIMA currently apply focus on best value strategy since the government initiated this project for middle income group. The government wants to help M40 and B40 groups to have their own property at a lower price since the poverty case in Malaysia is high due to the declination of monthly household income. This strategy suits PRIMA's mission, which is to plan, develop, and provide affordable and high-quality homes inspired by modern living concepts for middle-income Malaysia. For example, PRIMA residential project in Lubuk Jong, Kelantan offers RM135,270 Malaysia per unit for 962 units in total. This indicates that the price of food is still affordable for the local people to purchase. There are several facilities and accessibilities provided in Lubuk Jong Residential, such as kindergarten, multi-purpose hall, the spine road between Kota Baru and Ratang Panjang, bus terminal Pasir Mas, and hospital Pasir Mas.
Thank you. Now, what is the challenges of PRIMA? So, first one is mismatch between the supply and demand. So the statistics shows there is a high demand rate in affordable housing rather than supply, as according to the findings by the research of Dr. Hasanuddin 2022. So he stated in his research about 48% demand for affordable house costs under 30,000 ringgit Malaysia, but the supply rate only shows 28%. This means there is insufficient supply for the high demand of affordable housing that can cause a delay in problem solving. And then the increase in house prices in the urban areas, also the challenges towards the development of PRIMA. So urbanization has an effect towards the construction of low-cost housing because of the high demand and the strategic land. It is difficult to maintain the affordable concept because of the living cost that is not compatible with the household income gained by the B40 group. Plus, the challenges also come from the limitation of land in the urban city and also extreme demand that influence the greater cost of housing. So now, to continue the presentation, I'm going to pass the floor to the next member.
Firstly, the recommendation for the Ministry of Housing is that the local government must have adequate planning and control. The planning and control of the program include the resources in the organisation, which are human resources and physical resources, such as allocation of money, expertise, and acquisition of land. It is because having sufficient planning and control by the expertise helps the local government to avoid unsold, overhanging and oversupply of PRIMA housing. Moreover, the planning also enhances the ability of the authority to make rational and efficient decisions. For instance, the strategic financial planning of the Rationalisation Plan 2018 to 2020 for PRIMA program has helped the government to decrease the development costs and achieve the strategic goals and objectives. Therefore, it is important to have adequate planning and control in the organizations to enhance the ability and effectiveness of the program. Secondly, the recommendation for the Ministry of Housing and Local Government is by increasing the government funding. It is because of the issue of insufficient allocation of budgetary funds and land costs lead to increasing housing price in certain areas like Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. Furthermore, all the unexpected issues of the Prima project become the crucial issue that the local government needs to overcome. Hence, the best initiative is by increasing the government funding. For instance, before this, the allocation of budget for Prima housing is RM5.368 billion, but as regards to the limitation of land and greater costs in housing construction, the Ministry of Housing and Local Government may increase more funding for the project in order to maintain the Prima objective. However, the local government must have a proper and sufficient planning to ensure the effectiveness of the budget allocation. Therefore, rather than increase the Prima housing price and contravene with the objective, the local government can use this initiative to manage the issue. Hence, that's it from me, and I will pass the floor to the next presenter. Thank you.
In conclusion, the Ministry of Housing and Local Government had played a vital role in order to combat one of the worst societal issues in Malaysia, which is poverty. Many strategic planning had been implemented to address this issue, and one of them is 1Malaysia Housing Program or Prima, with the mission and vision that aims to plan, develop and provide affordable and high-quality homes inspired by modern living concepts for middle-income Malaysians. This program could be seen as one of the successful programs that helps those people to have their own property despite all the issues arise. We hope that the government could come up with another strategic planning with proper implementation that could help middle-income Malaysians and directly to reduce the poverty issue in Malaysia. That's all from us. Thank you.